I've been called worse.
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah.
I think we all have, right?
Yeah.
But I've never called you worse on purpose.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
Ah, there you go.
Meet the Pressers with Matt Mallory and Klint Necro. Brought to you by Public Safety and Education and the Trigger Pressers Union.
This episode is brought to you by Sabre Red, pepper spray and safety products for all Americans. Next Level Training, makers of CERT training products. Mantis, Mantis X helps shooters suck less. Firearms Owners Against Crime Institute for Legal, Legislative, and Educational Action. Meet the Pressers is also supported by other shows, companies, and our Patreon members. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Meet the Pressers. I'm Matt Mallory, one of your hosts, and my good friend Klint Necro is the other one. So excited to have him back, finally back. It's been a long hiatus, and we're glad to have him. So thanks for watching, listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, click that little bell thingy so that way you can stay in touch when we're putting out shows. Klint, why don't you introduce our mutual good friend?
Well, as you know, Meet the Pressers is a safe place for trigger pressers to congregate and talk about guns and gadgets and training and politics and stuff. And Bill Dalpe is one of the best trigger pressers I've worked with over the last couple of years. He's someone that I've worked with in ICE training when some of Rob Pincus's instructor development classes. He hosted me years ago to come up and do a DSF class up in where was that? Mansfield Fish and Game. And so our paths have crossed many times over the years. Bill, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on here.
Thank you. I'm honored. It's been a while. I know we talked about it for a bit, but yeah, thanks.
Yeah, fantastic. So what do you have on your plate? I see the poster back there behind you, and that's something that I wanted to make sure we discussed and talked about.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about After the Bell Rings.
After the Bell Rings is a kid's book centered around situational awareness. And I say it's a kid's book, but it's really meant for parents and guardians to purchase it, read it, and understand what's in it, and then pass it along to their child. And the idea is, you know, attending one class is good, but for this methodologies and these type of strategies, if you will, of situational awareness for kids, they really need a repetitive nature, like every day. And that's what it's meant for. The methodologies in here is meant for parents or guardians to enforce as the weeks and months and years go on. So that was the genesis and why it was written. I don't suggest just handing it to an 8 or 9-year-old because there's content in there that may not be appropriate for that age group, but that's the gist of it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, you know what I robbed you of is your opportunity to tell the audience about yourself and a little bit about your background. So why don't you go ahead and fill us in on that, and then people understand why it's so important that you wrote this book.
No, well, I appreciate that, Klint. Well, first of all, I'm a dad, right? First of all, 3 great kids. And yeah, I'm a trainer. I own Patriot Fireams School in Defense. That's been a thing for, I don't know, 18 years or so. So I'm a trainer. And I do other things, but Patriot is definitely one of my main focuses. And another one is this situational awareness, and specifically for kids, right? I can tell you the genesis story of the book later if you want to hear it, but you know, a tool is good, but the most important tool is your mind and how you avoid situations. And you know, I have a child, my youngest child, who can't really fend for himself, right? So that I think about that a lot, and I think of kids where, you know, if we could just give them this little bit of knowledge and they put it to use, that, you know, it can go a long way as they get older. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So 18 years, Bill, is that, how long ago is it that we did the NRA training counselor workshop together at
You're asking me to do math?
You guys were in the TC class together.
Yeah.
I
That was
damn, like Eagle River. Hey, do you guys know Fred? Because he was in that class too.
Yeah, I mean, it was,
2009, maybe.
yeah, I mean, it's been, when you said 18 years, I'm thinking, like, how long were you doing your business before you went and got your TC?
Well, it was right around the time my oldest daughter was born. That's
Right.
when I said, okay. And I went vertical from there. So I'd say like 2001, 2000, somewhere in there, since I've been
Jeez.
instructing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Officially instructing.
So yeah, it sounds probably about 15 years, 14, 15 years. Man,
yeah,
time flies.
it's
Man,
relentless.
you're getting old.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Not all of us color our hair like other people. Do you
Ooh.
color
Color
your
my-
hair?
I color my hair with gray.
Oh, your camera's a little washed out. Yeah.
My whole face
Yeah.
looks gray. But that
Yeah.
no, so Anthony, we did it at Anthony Calandro's in
Okay.
New Jersey at Gun for Hire. It was at his place, and when we first met Anthony, and yeah, it was pretty cool. It was one of I think one of the last classes they did on the road before they brought them all back to the headquarters.
That's
and
right.
It was Andy Lander and John Howard that taught
Yeah.
that.
Well, that
Yeah.
must have been right about the same time. I did mine in, I think, 13.
Okay.
And they came to Pittsburgh. And I was with yeah, Andy was there for sure. But cool, small world. That's awesome.
Yeah, John
Yeah.
Howard's a great guy. I love bumping into him at SHOT, and he's just a great guy. Yeah. And I was just at Gun for Hire, Matt.
Where yeah.
They had an NFT event 2 months ago.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I remember seeing some stuff them promoting that.
it's come a long way.
Yeah. Since then,
Yeah.
I mean, the place was amazing then. I was
Yeah.
like amazed at what they had going on back then.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So it's much more than just the book. You have a curriculum out that people can get involved with and actually teach a in-person class, correct?
Yeah. So I was just moved to do it, right? So I create a PowerPoint and have an instructor program centered around that. So
Nice.
for a little short money buy-in, you get the robust PowerPoint. Now I am working on a book too, and I'm about halfway through it. And if you've listened to podcasts, I talked about the book about a year ago. I was also saying it's about half done. So this summer I'm going to finish it. But some of the content in the second book is in the PowerPoint. So yeah.
Yeah.
And part of that's like Rob's counter ambush methodologies, 03R, 2RI, that's in there.
Yeah, I picked up your certification course and bought the PowerPoint and the toolkit, for lack of a better term, and it's really fantastic material. I look forward to ultimately offering that class in my community. One thing I would like to ask you though,
Mhm.
Having spent a little bit of time in the Northeast up in New England, pretty much everybody's company is named Patriot. How did you possibly get that website and also the DBA as your company? Because lawn mowing services, plumbers, firearms trade, everybody's Patriot. How did you do that?
So I know, and New England Patriots, and that wasn't when I came up with the name. I didn't have a football team in mind. It's like I'm a patriot, and what better place to be a patriot than in Massachusetts? So
Absolutely.
Patriot Fireams School, and I'm incorporated. I don't know. I got lucky.
No, that's cool.
Blessed.
So you're a businessman like Matt and I, and you have your hands in lots of different things. Would you care to talk about your target system?
Oh, the Fred. Yeah, Fred, the 3D target system. Yeah. So targetnation.com. It's a 3D torso. It brings your targets to life. We shoot at flat targets. We define the high center chest. And when you're squared up to, a threat, that is the case, right? You're going to be squared up. But 90% of defensive encounters happen at an angle, some sort of angle. There's angle play all the time. So that's where this target system really leverages the education of angles. You have that 3D volume. We like to call it the $10 torso, because it can come with a stand if you want to, but it's targetnation.com. Yeah, check it out. It's you guys seen it.
It's
Yeah,
all
for sure.
cardboard, and it's not like investing in like a Bob dummy or something like that, but it's
Right.
very, very cool. It's very inventive,
Yeah.
innovative.
And For sure. Yeah, I've got a few of them. I actually used I used a couple, I think at least one, maybe two at the academy that I taught last year. And it was pretty cool just to give the officers that I was certifying that different angle, that different thought process on, 3-dimensional target.
Yeah, we have an instructor program centered around it too, Center of Exposure, and we were actually at a ILEADA about a month ago, and it was a big hit. So yeah, we're excited about it. It's a little bit of an uphill battle because people are comparing it to a paper target, and you just can't do that, right? It's much more than that. Yeah, in fact, for law enforcement, their qual targets, you can fold those up and put them in back, and that's what they're doing. They're leveraging the 3D torso center of exposure and leveraging their qualification targets.
Yeah, that's smart.
So they're putting the target over top like a shirt, or they're putting it inside and then later on take a look.
Inside, because you can configure it like a door. It opens up and you just put it right there. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, that's good, because then they're not. I mean, it's just like Klint. I actually got this idea from you. If it's inclement weather, it's raining or snowing, put a grocery or a garbage bag over top of the target. And I ended up going to Lowe's and bought a bunch of those bags, about 2 boxes of the bags.
Yeah,
so.
the Moxie Lowe's brand. They fit
exactly.
Yep.
And actually, at the most recent law enforcement recertification I did for like 15 officers here a few weeks ago, we did that because it was kind of crappy weather out, and they actually said, "Man, I wasn't focusing on the target. I was just focused on center of the target. Didn't care about where I was hitting." So actually, they said that it was beneficial more so because they were just focusing on the center versus focusing on, oh, I missed, and psyching themselves out and getting themselves frustrated. So they're like, "Can we do that all the time?" I'm like, if we have to.
Hey, I got to be a smart ass and ask this question. When you ran the qual, did you give them the extra 2 seconds so they could blow the dust out of their hammer before they drive the gun to full extension?
So I shot the qual as well. So I had some RSOs watching the range while I was running the course of fire. I did 2 strings, and I shot a 250 out of 250, and I haven't shot.
You're a hell of a shooter.
So I was excited that I was the best shot out of everybody there, and I rubbed it in a little with the guys. I'm like, that's how you do it, boys.
Well, you're a good shooter, dude. I'm okay with taking the Pepsi challenge. I'll step up and shoot in front of folks and demo whenever necessary. That's not a thing I've ever shied away from. But Matt's a better shooter than I am. Yeah. Matter of fact, we were doing something where we didn't quite have as much safety gear on as we should have, but he lit me up. And I'm thinking, oh, he's hitting me. Like everything's slow motion. Like, oh, this hurts.
Yeah. It's like a Dr. Alexis Artwall moment you were having there.
Oh, it was all textbook, man.
Yeah,
I could see him coming at me, the rounds coming at me like the Matrix. And it was like, oh, that's gonna hurt. Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Oh, that's funny. Well, to give some kudos to you guys, John Correa had posted something on Facebook, I think yesterday or today, and he said, if you're an instructor that's a national instructor teaching people around the country, even at a local level, Google your name, and if you don't come up on the first page, then there's something wrong. And he was basically giving that advice to students and people out there looking for instructors. It got me thinking. Every once in a while, I'll Google my name just to see what comes up, and see if I've got any illegitimate children out there. Kidding. I'm just kidding. But so before we got on today, I actually Googled all 3 of our names, and you guys, all 3 of us popped up right on the first page numerous times too. Like your IMDb was on the homepage. Bill, your LinkedIn is, and your book I think was on the first page too. So you two, mind wise, to work with you guys and everything. I mean, I'm a ball of energy. That's usually what I bring to the table. You guys bring a ball of brains. So I commend both of you for I aspire to be as eloquent and smart as you two.
Oh, stop. No. Did you say balls and brains?
a bowl of balls. That's what I am, a bowl of balls.
Yeah. Did you eat a bowl of balls this morning? You say that's my son when he got lippy. Did you eat a bowl of balls this morning?
Oh.
No, I appreciate that, Matt. And it's reciprocal. I've been very blessed in my life, especially in the after my 30s into I'm approaching 50 now. I've been really fortunate to have surrounded myself with really high quality people. And, it's kind of like, Actually, I was in a meeting a couple days ago, and the guy giving the address at the meeting said, I'm paraphrasing this, but it was words to the effect of, "A rising tide raises all boats."
Mhm.
And it's pretty cool when you work with other people in the tide, and the boats are even shinier and better than yours. It really makes you want to go out there and take a paintbrush to it and make yours even better. And so I appreciate that, but I feel the same way. So if we
Yeah.
were in person, I would now give you a hug. So that's all, like, symbolically hug.
Yeah. Oh,
Bring it in.
kumbaya. I feel the same way, I equivocate it to when I used to play guitar, and that was a very intimidating thing. And old guitarist at the time said, you know what, you want to play with the best guys, the guys who will smoke you, because you're going to learn and you're going to
Yeah.
get better. So it's kind of the same thing. And I am totally blessed in this circle, the 2A circle. Klint, you're like a brother, and Matt, I've known you for a long time. Me and Matt had a moment, I think it was the last SHOT Show, like, look at us now, right?
I know, right?
Out and, just every day, just getting up and doing a thing and keep moving. And yeah, I feel very blessed and lucky. Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Same. It was interesting when we bumped into each other at SHOT Show. I think it was like, it's crazy that we both are in the industry. We've been in the industry this long and continuing. Like, some of the people in the NRA training counselor class that we were in together, they're not doing anything. I mean, they're not teaching anything, or if they are, it's at a local level where, we've kept growing and doing things nationally. And we didn't even bump into each other for all those years. Like, it's like that 6 degrees of separation, right? And then boom, we just bumped into each other, like Bill, Matt, and then we reminisced, and it was like, wow. So
Cool. Cool.
So what do you got coming up, Matt? What's on your schedule? You're a busy man. You're traveling the country.
yeah. So well, I just got done teaching the Saber pepper spray instructor course in Mass, and Bill stopped by to say hi and catch up for a quick brief second. You were coming off the range, weren't you, Bill?
All day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which range were you at, Matt?
Mansfield.
Oh, at Fish and Game.
Yep. Mansfield
Cool,
Fishing Game. Yep.
That's a nice facility.
Yeah. Carrie Ann hosted me for the class. So it was cool. And yeah, we had, I think, 15, 12, 14. I think we had 14 students in that class. So we had to get special approval from Saber to be able to run it with that many people. But that was good. It was a really good class. They were really energetic. People from Arizona came in. I think we had somebody from Arizona, somebody from Pennsylvania came in from Massachusetts to take the class, in Maine, and I think New Hampshire, Vermont came in too, down to Mass. So it was pretty cool. They came in from a little ways. Let's see. So UTM, I'm doing a UTM instructor course, thanks to the hookup connection you gave me, Klint, there at ICE in Maryland, coming up on July 8th. We'll be doing that. Kevin Dixie's having me come in and teach a pepper spray class at his train and learn in Missouri. I think not this weekend, but next weekend. So I'll be in Missouri teaching that. But yeah, I mean,
spent a couple days with Kevin recently myself. Yeah,
nice.
He is an impressive man.
Yeah. And he's so motivated. So, like, all the weight he lost, it's just like, every time I look at him, like, hard to picture him. So motivated to just do so much in the industry. But I really like Katie and talking to him. But yeah, no, I've been teaching a lot more locally because of the new New York State Concealed Carry Improvement Act. So I've been doing the 18-hour, like tomorrow and Friday, I've got an 18-hour class in Auburn. And then Saturday and Sunday, I've got an 18-hour class in Clay. So it's like back to back teaching that, usually weekly. I'm doing the 18-hour class. And
it's amazing. Working with Firearms Owners Against Crime in Pennsylvania, we have had lawsuits, and we fund lawsuits, and we've sued municipalities and done all that. And a lot of times people will say, why do you bother? Because it's a long process and it's very expensive. But look at that SCOTUS decision, how that completely changed everything.
Framework everywhere across the country.
Yeah. And we had some states that were maybe issue, and now they're all shall issue. And even though the states are fighting tooth and nail, like New York and Maryland, especially with changing the rules on what's, a place that you can carry, like, they still complied with it. And that was just amazing to me. I thought for sure that there would be a standoff with that and say, nope, we're not going to do it. But they did.
So about a couple months ago, I met with our local DA, Fitzpatrick, here in Onondaga County. Went out and had drinks with him, and we're just talking about it. And I said to him, I go, why don't you just like tell the governor, screw you, I'm not going to uphold this because it's ridiculous, it's unconstitutional. And he goes, she will replace me the next day. And I was like, really, you think so? And he goes, yep, absolutely. They're her and the attorney general are off their rocker. And then I said, well, why don't you get together with all the DAs in upstate, all the conservative DAs, and pull together? He goes, I guarantee you, she'd still replace us. Like she is so I mean, look what she. I believe him. I mean, I agree with him because look what she did to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says no more proper cause. So she goes, well, that's just wrong. Good moral character. And then you can't make the whole island of Manhattan a sensitive location. And what does she do? Times Square, and then you determine the boundaries by NYPD. It's ridiculous. So they basically spit in the face of the Supreme Court. And unfortunately, the Supreme Court can't send out the U.S. Marshals to arrest the governor. I wish they could. So I have students that'll say, well, you're killing it. You're making a ton of money off this course, aren't you? I go, I'm not charging like $1,500 like New York City's charging. I'm charging $340. I looked at what I teach. And I figured out what I teach and I added up the hours, and I charge what I normally charge. I'm not gouging people. I'm actually one of the cheapest around. And, I love what I do, but I hate that I have to do it. That's kind of my mantra.
Yeah. Well, it's always, I've always been vehemently anti-mandatory training.
For sure.
I think, making it a mandate that you have to get training to exercise a right, or whether that be carry the gun to defend yourself and your family or those that you love, but also just to purchase a firearm. I think that's a egregious overstep of government. However, in those places where it is mandatory, we should give the best damn class we possibly can, and then fight at the legislative level to try to get those things changed. And I know that you've done that in New York, and I know, Bill, there's mandatory training components in Massachusetts, and I know you're one of the guys that gives the best damn class you possibly can. And I think that shows that integrity is there too.
Yep. I got interviewed by NPR, Public Radio, the other morning.
Wow.
And on storage and things like that. And I said, yeah, I don't believe that we should have to have training, and her mouth like hit the floor, like she couldn't believe I said, I believe in training, that people should get trained, but to have the government tell you need to do it. And she just couldn't believe I said that,
Yeah, there are cases where, someone needed to get a firearm to defend themselves or their loved ones because they were being stalked. Matter of fact, I forget the name of the woman. We interviewed someone, and her sister had a situation like that. And because
Mary Ann Cullison.
Yes. Her sister was in the process of getting her permit so that she could buy a gun, because in that state they needed a FOID card. And in the meantime, she was raped and brutally beaten, like within an inch of her life. And had it not been for that mandatory training component, she very well would have been armed, and that would have been the great equalizer. And I think that the government, the people in charge that made those decisions, those laws at that time, should be held culpable for the fact that she was taken advantage of and victimized.
I agree.
Sure.
I agree. Yeah.
I even think we should take it a step farther. And if they put a combined bills together to try to pass the law, all these add-ons where they're trying to add stuff on, it should be set. Just like if you look at it, if there's a law and they go to try to appeal it, try to go to a higher court, that higher court doesn't separate it out. You win or you lose. Typically, it's not different components. Adding all these different bills together that have no reason with anything else. Like, good example, New York State just passed the budget. And in the budget, she actually changed the law on CCIA to make it legal now to be able to carry inside of the Adirondack Park. It's it has nothing to do with each other. Why are they combining them?
Yeah, that's one nice thing about the law in Pennsylvania. At the state level, they can't combine things. And there have been actually some pro-gun things that were argued by the court that they were tacked in there, and it wasn't a single issue, so they were reversed. So that's one nice thing we have going for us in Pennsylvania, but that's not the case federally, certainly, and not the case in many states. I'm assuming, based upon your head shaking, it's not the case in Massachusetts.
Oh,
either.
No, I don't agree with it. I think it should be a single item, and that's what you vote on.
Yep.
Yeah, and and we have non-gun people making gun laws that are ineffective, right? So, we right now, part of GOAL, the Executive Committee for Gun Owners Action League, And right now, there's a listening tour that Massachusetts has, and they're going from community to community, kind of like a town hall type meeting. And one promising thing is they've actually invited us to, as to be a part of it, right? Which they
Right.
haven't done in the past. I mean, it could lead to nothing anyway, and that's what we're all thinking, but at least it's a step in the right direction. Let's see where it goes. In fact, there's one tonight that I'm missing. It's on ghost guns, right? But
Ooh.
yeah. But, we do the best we can to represent the people of Massachusetts, and we're in for a fight, that's for sure.
So, one of the things that I think the viewers and listeners definitely need to understand, we can get upset about it as much as we want, but this echo chamber that we're in doesn't change it. It just makes us all matter, and damn the government. We need to reach out to our politicians and politely and respectfully, even if we disagree and we want to scream and yell at them, politely and respectfully let them know exactly what's going on and what's wrong. I like you alluded to, Klint, I try to meet with the politicians as much as possible. I just met with one of the new Onondaga County Court judges today. I had lunch with her. Yesterday, I went to the other new Onondaga County Court judge's chambers and met with him for about an hour, just to let him know who I am, introduce myself, and talk a little bit about their mindset, what they want from me, what I can, pass along to my students and such. I texted our Congressman Brandon Williams. His campaign was "Let's vote Brandon." It was just so smart. But anyway, I texted him the other day about the monuments down in DC and what was happening down there along with the border crisis. And he pulled together a bunch of the DAs and I think he said DAs and mayors, or DAs and county executives, DAs and county executives in like 3 or 4 counties surrounding here that he presides over, basically is elected over, and basically started putting together some communication with them. So that was his response. But I told him, anything I can do, get out there, just talk to the politicians, let them know, let your voice be heard, but it's got to be respectful. Otherwise, they're just going to shut the door. They're going to think you're loony. You got to
develop those relationships, and it starts with your own elected officials. And
sure.
I've said it time and time again, and Bill, I'm sure you've seen this, where we have gun owners that could tell you the ballistic coefficient of a cartridge, but they couldn't tell you who their elected officials are.
Right.
And so we've got to meet those people, talk to them, send them emails, let them know who we are and what we are about. And if they're pro-gun, let's help them. And if they're not, let's try to educate them. Because not everybody is completely over the fence like anti-gun person. Right. But most of those folks, they listen to the people that talk to them. And frankly, gun owners don't reach out to people. So all they hear is the moms demand action. They hear these other organizations that are, talking about common sense. So we have to reach out to them. We have to, be part of their lives and let them know who they are representing. Sure. But also reach out to people like at the federal level. Well, remember, Matt, we were on Iraq Vet 8888's show. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I called up Joe Manchin. Remember that? At the time, this was a couple years ago, and Joe Manchin at the time was keeping the anti-gun stuff at bay, as he was the only Democrat in the House that was Senate that was kind of keeping things in check. And I called and left a message, and basically, hey, I'm not one of his constituents, but his decision affects my life, affects my ability to defend my family. And so I respectfully, asked him to not support that particular bill. Now, I'd like to think it was, well, Klint Macro called me, so I better not do it. That's probably not what took place. But they keep track of the calls that come in. They keep track of the numbers. And if more people make their voice heard, they're more likely to sway to that side.
And us as a two-way community over the decades have been too quiet for too long. It's been changing, which is good. But yeah, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot, my opinion, for decades by not speaking up and not promoting going to speak to your legislators and being advocates,
Well, and I think part of that is if we, I think a lot of people are scared to lose your livelihood, lose what you have, what you've earned, what you've worked towards, because if you speak up, they might be like, oh, this person's a crazy gun person. Red flag, you're a PO. They do something to try to strip you from your Second Amendment rights. And like all three of us, if that happened with any of us, our livelihood's gone. I mean, this is my main income source is teaching classes. And
Mhm.
if my Second Amendment right's gone, I can't teach people how to use guns. Nobody's going to be able to, nobody's going to keep you on there. So it's a fine line between, I mean, it's not like our founding fathers back in the day, right? They were,
Right.
they gave up their farms, they went into hiding, and fought from, behind the scenes in that way, and still had their name out there, but they couldn't be found. Everybody can be found nowadays. Everybody's got the, Alexa. I don't want to say her name because she's over there and she'll answer me.
Oh yeah. Hey, do you know if you ask her to fart, that she'll just keep going on a loop and you can't
Yep.
stop it?
Our
Is that
7-year-old does. Yes. Our 7-year-old does that.
That really works?
Yeah. Yeah.
Try it.
Alexa,
No, don't do it.
fart. Probably can't hear it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
got-
for another episode.
She's still
Well,
going.
Yeah, we'll do that on another episode.
Have you guys played with Chat GPT yet?
I've heard about it.
Ooh,
You like it?
it's scary. It's scary quick. I mean, it only goes by the information that's out there, but I asked it to type, I forget what letter of reference or some letter, and within 5 seconds I had a letter. And it wasn't that bad. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Skynet's a thing, man.
Yeah.
Skynet's a thing. We have seen
Right.
throughout the last 50 years how life imitates art.
Alexa,
I mean-
stop. Sorry, she's still farting.
Oh, did it work?
She wouldn't
Oh.
stop. She just
It was
kept doing it.
silent.
It's silent, SBD, silent but deadly.
So
Well,
I thought about
Quality
sorry.
people, right? Yeah, quality people.
So I thought about that because my biggest thing with writing articles and such, I mean, I don't mind writing them with, with my knowledge and whatnot, but it's just time consuming. I'm such a, I don't want to say perfectionist, but to me, it's like, if I sit down to do it, it'll take me too long. And I make a lot more money teaching a class than I would be writing an article. And I mentioned to Tom Givens one time, I was having coffee with Tom Givens years ago. And I said, how do you do it? How do you whip out these articles so fast and quick? He goes, it's all up here. And I'm like, well, I got it up here too. It's going to take me so long to put it on paper. And I'm going to wait, no, that's got to be better this way or that way. So.
Yeah, my part of my responsibility with Firearms Owners Against Crime is that I write the newsletter. So every 2 weeks I have to pen the newsletter, and I enjoy doing it. I mean, it gives me a great outlet to go ahead and voice my opinion about things other than training, with politics and human
Right.
behavior and propaganda. I really like to point that kind of stuff out.
Mm.
But yeah, it's a lot of work, but you kind of sit down and just, okay, when I'm inspired, it just kind of falls out. My problem is the proofreading the typos.
Mm.
I just had an epiphany. So, you know how they do the writers for music will write music for some stars and stuff out there, and
Yeah,
they
ghostwriter,
write it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys will be my ghostwriters. I mean, I told you guys are geniuses, so I'll just have
Yeah, but you would never use like pistol E or instructor E. That's my writing style. Put the dash Y at the end of it. I took a lot of that from Rob Pincus, so
Did you?
that's kind of where I cribbed that from. But yeah, I don't
Pinkasy.
know. Yeah, Pincusy. Yeah, I have a
There's a-
Pincusy background.
There's a program called Grammarly.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it'll suggest what grammar to change. You don't have to take it. So you can have your Y's in there, the leads in there. Yeah, it's great. It's great. My daughter, going to college, she told me about it and I haven't looked back.
Wow.
So, Bill, you were saying you did an interview with NPR the other day. I know media has reached out to you, Matt, and I certainly have had my interactions. What's the last thing you did, Matt? What last time the folks called you to interview you or get a soundbite?
So I mean, every Wednesday morning I do a iHeartRadio interview.
That's
so
right.
I do the tomorrow morning. I actually be doing Dave Allen's radio show. So every Wednesday at 6:05 in the morning, I'm on his show and we have a topic. So tomorrow we're talking about the Texas sergeant that ended up shooting the guy with the AK, and he was just convicted because of what he posted on the internet, all his F around and find out crap that he posted prior to the shooting. And then also about the Marine in New York City that was just convicted, or at least arrested and charged. The Marine that was charged for choking the guy out. Yeah. And Alvin Bragg had him arrested. So yeah, those are the two cases.
You remember a couple of months, maybe it was about a month or so ago, the Washington Post came out with a big, long, multi kind of issue series on the AR-15.
I think so.
Really, really anti-gun. Like, I mean, their data was very flawed. They were using the CDC data that said children were killed by guns, and they were counting like 20-year-old gangbangers and, the typical anti-gun thing. I was called by one of their reporters, and I spoke to him at length on several occasions. He didn't quote anything. None of my quotes made it into the
Wow.
article. And one of the questions he asked me, he says, "Can you tell me why the AR is the most sought after rifle? Why is it America's rifle? Why do people seek out the AR?" And I said, "It's not that people are looking for the AR in particular. It's just that they've recognized that government won't protect them. They need to take on the responsibility to protect themselves and their family. And it just so happens that the AR is very plentiful and very affordable. So they're buying them. So, if it were a different gun that was available, they'd buy something else. But it just happens to be that everyone, their grandma makes an AR and they're reasonably priced." And he didn't like that answer. He kept coming back to it. No, it's not because they want ARs. It's not that they have gun lust. It's they want to protect themselves because the
Right.
government won't. And
Yeah.
they're taking on that responsibility. And I applaud them for taking on that responsibility.
Well, it's just like a car, right? I mean, you look at which cars are the most commonly used cars or commonly sold cars. It's the one that's it's best marketed, best promoted. The mass majority, somebody has it. What do you got? You ask a friend. Oh, I got an AR. I got a Ford or whatever. Same kind of concept.
Well,
So-
what do they call the Anderson? Like the poverty pony. You can get an Anderson for like about $500 and they run good. It's not a tuned up Daniel Defense or like the Trigger Pressers Union, signature rifle. It's not like that, but it's a good solid gun. It's a good design.
Yeah. Palmetto State, the Anderson, the Bear Creek. You got a Bear Creek. I remember you got that one.
I tell you what, I was very impressed with the Bear Creek upper. Is it a Knight's armament? No, certainly not. But for $300 for a full upper with bolt carrier, it's pretty damn good. And it's been shooting well. I'm not going to drive tax with it, but multiple shots in high center chest, decent group, out to, about 100 yards from a bench. It's been shooting just fine.
Yeah, I picked up a 300 Blackout a couple years ago. My wife said, "What do you want for Christmas?"
Nice.
And a 300 Blackout from Bear Creek. So Klint, what do you got going on? What are your travels? What classes you got coming up?
Well, National Train a Teacher Day. It's our 6th annual is coming up on June 17th. That's Saturday, June 17th. And of course, there's volunteer instructors all across the nation who are volunteering their time to offer free training to teachers, school staff, administrators, and anybody that works with youth in a leadership capacity. So that could be clergy, Boy Scout leaders, Cub Scouts, whatever. And got quite a few people that volunteered this year. I'm personally running a class in Pittsburgh area. I'm doing the USCCA's home defense class, because a lot of the home defense tactics that we can employ can very well be applied in a school environment. And that happens also to be one of my PDN training tour dates. So I got PDN training tour dates. This is my 5th year, I believe, as a PDN training tour instructor. Rob's coming to Pennsylvania. I'm hosting him for 2 of his dates. That's going to be on June 3rd and 4th. He's doing an intuitive defensive shooting on the first day, and then he's doing his compromised shooting position on the second day, which if anyone's interested, the compromised shooting position class is physically taxing, most certainly. But it's a hell of a lot of fun. But really, it goes from that probable area. What's the most probable thing? And it goes out into the fringes of the plausible. So this is not the most likely thing to take place, but if you find yourself, hanging upside down out of a tree, hanging with your foot like a bat, here's how you would access your holster.
So
not really that.
It's going to put you in a pretzel. You're going to be in a pretzel. You're going to be shooting.
Great class. Yeah, it's a great class.
Yeah, you've done that one before. Do you teach that one, Bill?
Nope.
Okay. But that's one I aspire to teach.
I teach it, but not under Rob's umbrella, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been saying I've been teaching Rob's methodology for a lot longer than I was certified. Now,
me too. Yeah.
Back when I first kind of ripped it off, I would give credit where credit is due. And I didn't quite know all the nuance and a lot of the why behind what we teach at that time. But yeah, I've been a student of his for many, many years. I drank Kool-Aid and it makes sense to me.
So a lot of my classes, the defense class, I kind of give the genesis like of DSF 1 and 2 and Rob's, I said the first time, for decades, I took my training from law enforcement and military and, with timers and I said, you ever see The Matrix, right? And when I took my first class from Rob, it was like Neo taking the red
Yeah.
pill. Like I felt like I was lied to all those years. Yeah. And I haven't looked back. Yeah.
One thing that stood out for me with the DSF when I did the DSF, and it was Barrett and I can't remember the other
Derek
person.
Poole.
Derek?
Bobby Derek?
Uh,
Derek Poole?
but it was Barrett Kendrick,
Okay, yeah, Barrett. Yeah.
and then there was somebody else that was teaching it with him from one of the. Anyway, but in that class when we
Oh,
talked,
you came out to Wisconsin when it
Yes.
was hosted to you. Okay.
Yep, I was thinking it was like the second time it
Or
happened.
Justin Peters. He probably was working with Justin.
Wasn't Justin. It was who's the one that was your compadre that was at the USCCA, no longer there.
Oh, maybe Chris Gerke.
Chris Gerke. Yep, it's Chris
Yeah, Chris
Gerke.
Gerke.
Chris is a great guy.
Yeah,
Great.
Barrett.
Chris is good people. Yep.
They were my the training counselors that ran the DSF level 1, level 2 for me.
Mhm.
And the bullets forward, bullets back. And I've always just done bullets back. I just have, because to me it seems smoother, right up straight into the gun. I'm not chicken wing and I'm not having to corkscrew the magazine up into the gun. And to me, that's the way I just did it. Nobody told me, nobody taught me, military, law enforcement, nobody ever said bullets forward. And so I always did it bullets back just because that felt more ergonomic to me. And when they said it in the class, I'm thinking they're onto something. That right there made me think like I'm doing it. I'm learning. I did it the way that to me felt the most natural. And there was so many things in that class that were more natural than what is taught in mainstream.
Yeah, I can tell you as a training counselor for that program, you guys teach it as I do to end users.
Mhm.
Almost never are you questioned by a Mr. and Mrs. Johnson end user student as to the orientation of the magazine. They're like, okay.
Right. Yep.
But when you're trying to convince instructors on a different way to look at things, it's like that particular nuanced detail right there about bullets forward, bullets back. I might as well call someone's mom a whore. It's like, it's such a personal thing and people get so worked up about it. And it's like, okay, well, back is this much more efficient than
Mhm.
forward because of the half little twist. Now, granted, if you're wearing duty gear and the mags are oriented,
Canted.
horizontally or vertically, that can be a consideration as well.
Right.
But generally speaking, up and is easier. And I, like so many people, did it that way for years. And when I first worked with Rob on it, he says, well, you do it well, you do it safe. I'm not going to push it and have you change that just because.
Right.
We don't want you going down and changing and then throwing a magazine in the gun backwards. But understand it is slightly more efficient. And if that's not enough for you to change that particular thing, then fine. He says, but he says, how do you set up your carbine mags? And I said, well, bullets back. He says, why? So I can pick it up and jam it in like a beer can. He said, why wouldn't you want to do the same thing with your pistol mags? Like consistency's a thing, right?
Yep.
And I thought, that makes sense.
Yep.
So I will say it took me a whole summer of isolated practice of doing magazine changes and reloads with the bullets pointing back for me to kind of burn that new neural pathway.
Yep.
So that's a good example of like, there are some things that are worth your time, effort, and energy to change. And there are other things that are like, well, if you're doing it this way and it's safe and you can do it rather quickly, fine. Not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's
But,
minimal thing.
yeah.
Like some of my other Achilles heel or things that drive me nuts is when people put that their support hand finger in front of the trigger guard.
Yeah.
I'm like,
see,
that's not all guns have that though. And that's my point is like, you want to be
but that one
consistent
you can
from gun
see
to gun.
people pulling it.
Yeah, but I mean, where does it come from? I mean, unless I'm mistaken, it comes from competition shooters to help, pull down on the front of the gun to help keep muzzle rise. But my point is that not every gun has that. So why would you want to do it on one gun when you're maybe upgrade your gun down the road? Now you got to chain that training scar of getting rid of that. So little things like that.
They put serrations there. I believe at one point in time it was taught to go ahead and put your finger there. But also we have to understand that one point in time, the pinnacle of medical science was to cut you open and put leeches on your skin. So
Bloodlet you.
Didn't George Washington die from desanguination? Like I mean, you have to kind of look at things and say, are we doing this because this is how we've always done it, or
Right.
that's how my pap did it, or is there a really good reason for it?
What's the why?
Yeah. We have to be open to evolution, but be able to articulate why we do what we do. And a lot of times if you can't, then maybe, all right, then question it.
for sure. Definitely. So Bill, what do you got going on? What classes you
Yeah.
got coming up? Where you headed?
I got a concealed carry home defense instructor class, May 27th, 28th. And I kept the schedule a little bit light because, I had to go visit my son in California and I didn't know the date. So, but now the schedule will be filling back up, but I got a DSF class, June 17th. Which is National Trainer Teachers Day. So my curriculum for National Trainer Teachers Day is going to be the USCCA countering the mass shooter threat, which is going to be on a different day. So,
Okay, well, there you have it. I appreciate your volunteerism, and you've been a volunteer with Train a Teacher Day for a couple years now. I
Yep,
appreciate that.
yep.
Yeah, most
Yep,
certainly.
love it. I think it's a great cause. Yeah, and I do it like through the year too. I just don't
Yeah.
do it on that day. I do scout groups and some church goers and yeah.
Yeah, when Grant first brought that idea to me, Grant Gallagher, I said, well, don't you already do that? He says, we should train and, give free training to teachers. And it's like, well, don't you already do that? Like most of us in the industry have done that to some degree.
Right.
And the point was to have a grassroots movement on a day to just kind of show that we aren't cowering in the corner waiting for the cab to arrive.
Right.
We're being proactive and educating our fellow Americans to take further steps to defend themselves or protect themselves or treat themselves if they are victimized. So the first aid classes, I think, Matt, you did a first aid class last year, didn't you? Or 1 year?
I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before.
Okay. And I know Grant has done quite a few first aid classes. So first aid, there were some folks doing just NRA home firearm safety, just teaching people how to clear a gun. Because
Yeah.
what if you found a gun in a backpack? Do you need to wait for the police to come, or can you at least take the magazine out and lock it open first? So giving people that empowering them to understand how things work. And frankly,
Sure.
anybody watching this, if our teachers or the people that are taking advantage of that free training of the day, if all they leave with is knowing that when the gun is at slide lock, it can't go bang anymore, that's a very important thing. That's
Yeah.
the time to throw a stack of books or run down the hall or jump and lock the door or
Right.
dogpile the guy.
Yeah. Or
For
if there's no mag, right? If there's no
Yeah.
mag, the most in there is one round. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Bill, it's always fun to catch up with you.
Oh yeah. No, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
How can people find out more about you, stalk you, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so as far as the training goes, patriotfirearmschool.com. I'm all over the intrawebs. And then for the book, it's atbrbook.com. So after the bell rings, book.com. If you want to become an instructor, there's a little form you can fill out there, or you can purchase a book from there. So
Very cool.
that's it.
Sweet.
Awesome.
And hey, Matt, tell your website where people can sign up for your classes. You never do
Oh.
that.
I don't actually. It's usually on
Yeah.
the screen, right?
Yeah, well, it'll be on the screen too.
Publicsafetyandeducation.com.
Cool. And you can see my PDN training tour dates on triggerpressersunion.com, or you can go on pdntrainingtour.com and you can see the classes I'm offering, but also the ones that the other instructors across the country are offering as well.
And make sure you check out meetthepressers.com. Subscribe, like, share. Click the little bell thingy so you can stay in touch. Stay
Ding.
safe. Alexa, fart. On that note, Alexa,
Cool.
stop.
Hello, my name is Klint Macro. I'm the co-founder and administrator of National Train a Teacher Day. National Train a Teacher Day is a grassroots movement of volunteer firearm, safety, and defense instructors who are pledging to give free training to those who are charged with the safety and education of our children. This free training is available to teachers, school staff, administrators, and those that work with youth in a leadership capacity. That could be clergy, rabbis, Sunday school teachers, scout leaders, football coaches, or bus drivers. This year marks our 6th annual National Train a Teacher Day, and we will be observing it on June 17th, 2023. That's Saturday, June 17th, 2023. If you would like to take advantage of different types of training, such as firearm safety training, emergency first aid training, defensive training, tactical training, feel free to go onto the website and find a volunteer instructor near you. The website is nationaltrainateacherday.com. If you would like to volunteer your time for National Train a Teacher Day, you can visit the website and volunteer as well. I hope to see you all on National Train a Teacher Day this year, June 17th, 2023.
There's a lot of sponsors that make this show possible, like Mantis.
Make sure you check them out and give them your business.
This episode is brought to you by Saber Red, pepper spray and safety products for all Americans. Next Level Training, makers of CERT training products. Mantis, Mantis X helps shooters suck less. Firearms Owners Against Crime Institute for Legal, Legislative, and Educational Action. Meet the Pressers is also supported by other shows, companies, and our Patreon members. Thank you.
Thanks for watching or listening to our show.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, click that little bell thingy so you know when the next episode's uploaded. Support us on Patreon. Come to one of our classes. Host us to come to you and do one of our classes at your location.
And until next time,
Adieu.
Thank you for watching Meet the Pressers.